Hey everyone, welcome back. I am back with a bonus episode, which I felt called to share for a couple of reasons. I know the last couple of episodes where we ended with the Supernatural Souls podcast were probably a little triggering for some folks within the Sai Shakti divine lineage. And and I heard through the grapevine that they were, controversial, and I get it. I get it. I knew they were going to be controversial when I put them out, and I had to do it. I am here to not cause disharmony. My intention is to always help us all return to harmony and find our way back to unconditional love for each other, and to excavate the parts of ourselves that are preventing us from holding unconditional love for each other, or are preventing us from seeing truth, and to help us peel back the layers of illusion that might be present. So so I share this episode with the intention of it being a gentle follow-up to the last two. And this is an episode I had actually recorded in September of last year, and I didn't publish it at the time. Partially because when I recorded it, it was part of my own process of recognizing where there might have been a little projection or judgment present from folks, as they started to engage with me as I found the lineage. And I I know who I am. I know why I'm here, and I know what I'm doing in this world. And I have remembered a lot about my soul. And in this episode, I talk about some of that. And I just think it's a good reminder, for us all to just return to that core concept, of spirituality, that our level of development, our level of ability, spiritually, supernaturally, whatever, um, has nothing to do with this body. And it's very easy to judge this body. That happened a lot in my times at Whole Foods, as a young, capable leader, as a leader that had advanced abilities. And I have found that to continue being the case as I've navigated the world of, spiritual communities. And so, I share this just as like that reminder, and to also share a little bit more about my journey. And I felt called to this work within the Sai Shakti lineage because my soul had a tie to it. My soul had some karmic resolutions that needed to come to a close within this lineage. My soul also could benefit from the practices and the processes that are contained within this lineage, because I am a soul in this particular body in this lifetime that had the ability to return to certain levels of consciousness, power, ability, whatever you want to call it. Because my soul had that potential in this lifetime, the information that Swami Sri Kaleshwar delivered, through this lineage was absolutely, for me, was absolutely something I needed on this journey. And I'm deeply appreciative, deeply grateful for his work and for everyone's work in this lineage, and for how that set of practices and information has been carried forth. It is also so easy for illusion to wrap itself around this work. We know this. We know this. And we've got to like deeply examine, where we might have illusions running in us, and where we've given our power over to people, rules, and then where we wrap our ego around that, and then start to judge others because of the ways we have attached ourselves to certain ideas or ways of doing things. So so, I recorded this episode in September of last year as part of my process, as something I almost shared at the time but didn't, because I was noticing, where there were projections and judgment present, and 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 just as one little example, and not naming names, and this is again with the intention of us being willing to look at our shadows. Because if we don't do that together, we're not going to embody a state of universal harmony and unconditional love where the incredible, miraculous transformation that this world needs is possible. So we have a calling, a joint calling as a team here, in a sense, to really look at our shadows and and reflect them back to each other. When I recorded the last episode, the very last Supernatural Souls episode, I intentionally put the topic of bleeding in temples with the topic of meeting Ma Kali. So, so this might be interesting to reflect on. If someone was upset about me breaking a rule, right, and like casting judgment about that, in the same episode, I was also describing the process of returning to a state of consciousness where this sort of direct communion and these sorts of darshan experiences can happen. Right? So God did not smite me for breaking an outdated rule. Ma Kali, I think, appreciates when we challenge the status quo with the intention of illuminating a shadow, with the intention of helping some illusions dissolve. So I'm here to help dissolve some illusions, and I'm here to eventually, maybe demonstrate some things that might help folks understand a little more about why I've done what I've done. But for now, I just want to acknowledge the controversy of me showing up in this lineage and me doing what I've done. So my intention, anytime from these past episodes or anytime in the future, if I'm disrupting the status quo, if I am sharing something that is potentially controversial, if I'm sharing something about my journey that is triggering, know that I know that it's triggering, and I know that it's controversial, and I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it to help us. I'm doing it because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing it because it's my divine calling to demonstrate a different way, and to demonstrate a level of openness that maybe has not been demonstrated at times. So with that, I love you, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this lineage, for Swami, for the masters who came before Swami, for the information and practices and processes that have been documented, and the grinding that has happened from so many people. I am so deeply grateful for everyone's commitment to preserving that wisdom and knowledge. I am so deeply grateful for it all. I am so grateful for the opportunity to engage in these kinds of conversations, even if they feel a little uncomfortable sometimes, because anytime we're feeling uncomfortable or triggered, like that shows us where we've got wounding, where we've got belief systems that might be rigid, that might, not be serving us, and we might have more stuff to excavate. And so, I love it all, and I've done deep work, to get to a point where I can stand in my truth, and welcome the projections, welcome judgment, and be like, bring it on. It's all good. I love you. It's fine. Like, we got to work through that stuff. It's okay. And and yeah, I guess that's it. So this is an episode. The rest of this episode is from September of last year, where I felt called to talk about not being my body and to just reflect on that and a little bit more about my journey as a leader and an advanced soul in this body and what that's been like. So I'll see y'all again at some point in the future. And I just wish you the highest, most beautiful outcome for your journey and your evolution. Bye for now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It's so good to be with you here today. I'm Jenna Layden, your host, and we're doing an audio only episode today for the purpose of discussing the fact that we are not our bodies. So rather than focusing on the physical with the video, I thought we would have this conversation without the distraction of the video. And I wanted to talk about this particular topic because it's one of the core tenets of spirituality, that we are not our bodies. And I've had a unique experience in my life related to that concept that I thought I would just reflect on and share. And I think it's also relevant to the work we're doing here together with this podcast and how I'm sharing myself. So I became a global vice president at Whole Foods Market at the age of 30. That's not exactly normal. I moved up very quickly and without a college degree. I always had the ability to lead others, to see how harmony could be accomplished where there was dysfunction or where there was a lack of harmony. I always had the ability to support others on their journey and in that context in the corporate world. And that was my goal. That was my purpose for a long time, was showing up in support of others and helping our teams thrive and flourish. And I seemed to have some natural abilities with that at a young age. That was triggering for people, right? Like, to see this young woman, this young girl at the time, like 20 years old, becoming a leader, very quickly moving up, very quickly becoming the leader of men twice my age, having to have hard conversations with people who were older than me, having to find a way to bring that sense of team unity and harmony to the situations I was in, while also inhabiting this young body. so I've had some interesting experiences, witnessing how people respond to a young woman, a young person who maybe has some wisdom, who maybe has some innate abilities. And I, want to talk a little bit about some of the experiences I've had related to this, to help you understand a little bit more about why I'm here and, why I'm doing the work I'm doing with Star Family Wisdom. And, I have experienced already in this work a couple of moments, right, of witnessing folks maybe questioning, why this young girl is doing what she's doing and how have you progressed so fast in the processes within the divine lineage. And it's so easy for us to get hung up on the physical and forget that our level of development really has very little to do with this one lifetime, right? Like, we are contributing to our development through all of the experiences and spiritual work we do in this one lifetime, but our level of development comes from all of the lifetimes we've had before. And, just as we're navigating these dynamics of life together here in the physical, it's so easy to forget that. So, I want to share a little bit about my past and and again about why I'm here doing what I'm doing. So at Whole Foods, I was an award-winning leader and I led many complex projects, including leading negotiations with the company's top suppliers. I was directly responsible for hundreds of people and their well-being, their ability to thrive in the organization. I was indirectly responsible for thousands of others. I was directly responsible for millions of dollars worth of business, millions of dollars worth of sales, upwards $1 billion worth of sales at one point. And I say that not to brag, like it's just it's just what I did. I was responsible for these very large complex projects, and found myself in roles where I could help. And that was always my goal. My goal was, how can I just help? How can I help the team complete their work? How can I help the team, have fun doing it? How can I help us continually evolve in more positive directions? It became clear towards the end of my time at Whole Foods that I had some developing claircognizance, clairvoyance, and clairaudient abilities, clairsentience as well, that to some degree helped me in my work at Whole Foods. It was just subtle, and I didn't really, clue into that for a long time. But those aspects of myself started coming online towards the end of my time at Whole Foods. And it threw me into a period of time of deep exploration, deep research, and integrating an understanding of supernatural abilities, an understanding of psychic abilities, an understanding of how consciousness works in our universe. And I began receiving guidance from divine souls and souls I've been connected with in other lifetimes. And I developed this connection with the spiritual realm. And through the guidance I started receiving, I was guided to leave my job at Whole Foods and embark on a journey of spiritual evolution. So I did. And at the time, I was comfortable leaving Whole Foods because I had completed my work there. When I left, my teams had evolved into higher levels of harmony, and the leaders below me were fully trained and ready to take over. So I was leaving the team in good hands. I was leaving them in a successful position. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left. And so I went down the path of becoming a master shamanic energy medicine practitioner. And I became a shamanic energy medicine practitioner at the age of 34, having more or less mastered the Incan medicine wheel. And through that process, I started developing a better understanding of how to work with the world of energy and work with the world of spirit. Prior to that, I had had incredible supernatural experiences, including spontaneous past life recall, spontaneously seeing the future and then having that future play out, receiving communication in these clairaudient ways. And so through this shamanic training and other studies, I began developing those abilities more. And I've now had the experience of consciously journeying to the past, consciously journeying to the future, doing really depth healing work in the past, identifying those original wounds that we're carrying, where our distortions and negative patterns come from, and rewriting those stories, rewriting those soul contracts, journeying to the future to see possible timelines and higher destinies for myself and clients. And I've also developed the ability to perceive disembodied souls and negative spirits. This started out mostly as perceiving them in a clairsentient way, and in some cases, clairaudient ways. But I've now, over time, developed the ability to see them a bit. And so one of my healing and shamanic specialties is assisting in these souls releasing and healing and transitioning back to spirit, and some of the work through the processes in the divine lineage and the channels that exist in the divine lineage have helped me with that. And I've advanced pretty quickly with the processes in the divine lineage. For those who aren't as familiar with the divine lineage and these processes, there are a body of ancient mantra systems, yantra systems that were delivered to the world by Saint Sri Kaleshwar, a Saptarishi, a divine soul who has been our guru probably many, many times, but a soul who is incarnated over and over and over to support the development of humanity, and a soul who has beautiful, pure, direct channels with the Divine Mother. And so this saint, Saint Sri Kaleshwar, in his lifetime, did the work with many students and healers to bring this body of knowledge forward and to share these systems, these spiritual technologies that allow us to activate more divine energies within our field, help us bring harmony to our energy field, help us come back into that highest state of divine harmony. And so the processes, the information that exist within the divine lineage are extraordinary and highly important on the planet. And it was after having accomplished this shamanic work and having, mastered going through the ink and medicine wheel technology multiple times, and doing lots of my own process work to meet my karma, to heal that karma, to balance my masculine and feminine energies, that at the end of last year, this would be end of 2022, my Kundalini energy activated fully. And it was right after that that I found the divine lineage, or I should say I was guided to the divine lineage, as we all are. And so I've moved fast through a lot of the processes. And as I've talked about that a little here and there, some people get it, some people don't. And so I wanted to talk about this today just as a reminder, that we're not our bodies. Like, my ability to move through some of these processes and to integrate at, I guess, the speed I have is not about this body in this lifetime. It's partially about some of the work I've done in this lifetime to have prepared myself to move fast once I connected with the processes in the divine lineage. But it's more about all of the other lifetimes, right, that I've done my work. And in this lifetime, what I'm clear on now is that I've been moving through a karmic completion process, and finding, these processes within the divine lineage, these channels, is supporting that in an incredible way, obviously. And so I'm going to list, just a kind of a quick summary of the processes I've completed, just for anyone who's curious. And I'm still moving forward in the ways that are appropriate for me, and receiving support in the right moments for that. But again, our ability to move at whatever speed we're moving at is just based on our soul's development. And it's so easy. It's just so easy for us to fall back into that state of separation, that state of ego, judgment, and competition, and all of that, right? Like, it's so easy for us to compare ourselves, and because of the programming we've taken on here on Earth, we expect the people with wisdom and advanced abilities to look older, right? And that's not always the case. So, I started with the elements. That's like foundational for anyone. And then the womb chakra processes, that's also highly important, for our healing process. So for anyone who hasn't engaged that, that would be one of the first to engage. I've also done the 9 cross chakra initiation. I've also completed the Kala chakra processes, the new Kala chakra processes, most of Paramashiva yoga, some of the JC channels, and then there's a number of other mantras and processes that Swami talks about in various transcripts, and where it has felt right and appropriate, I've integrated some of those. I should share that I've not fully done the Shurya Chandra Nadi processes, mostly because those are as sun moon processes, focused on helping us with that balancing of the masculine and feminine energy and the awakening of Kundalini, if that's right for us. And that's something I spent a lot of time on over the last couple of years. And, having had my Kundalini already awaken, I've kind of fast tracked through some of those processes. And prior to coming into the lineage, was doing a lot of full moon, new moon ceremony work and fire ceremonies. Fire ceremonies are important to many cultures around the world. And so in the Peruvian shamanic lineage I've been studying under, we've done tons of fire ceremonies. That's kind of core to burning off the negative energy, as we focus on in the divine lineage. And we can work with fire as well to set intentions and call in new energy. So through the shamanic processes, I did a lot of ceremony work, a lot of ancestral healing work, a lot of sun moon process work, a lot of element work. And so just that, plus the combination of what my soul came in with in this lifetime, it just gave me the ability to move and to know what to do. I should also say, in my time at Whole Foods, that was also true. As a young leader, without having a lot of mentorship, without having a lot of formal training, to just know what to do in the right moments, that helped me navigate the situations I found myself in. It helped me navigate my work successfully. So I always had some clear cognizance that would come through that would just help me know what to do. And so I share all of this to just give a little better foundational understanding of who I am, some of the experiences I've had. I'm not sharing about all of the experiences I've had yet within the divine lineage processes, because I'm still digesting some of those. I'll share more about those as time goes on. I've shared about a few here and there if you look back at some of the previous videos. But, it's important to me to acknowledge what might be coming up, as people find these videos, as people might question, like, well, who does she think she is? Like, why is she doing this? I only do this to help. Like, it's just another forum, another way we can connect, another way we can share information that might help us all on our path of evolution. And the cool thing about free will is that we all get to choose. Like, we all get to choose what feels right for us. And so this is, I guess, a reminder about the fact that I'm not my body. I am a soul in this body. And I should also say that for a long time, I felt really out of place in this body. Like, there were a lot of years I felt very different. I still feel different. And it's been a really interesting thing to integrate myself. That's been part of, my karmic process of, reconciling, this difference between the cultural norms, the cultural expectations that we have of each other, and allowing myself to be my true self in this body, and allowing myself to share wisdom and energy that might help others, and experiencing, witnessing how that might feel a little uncomfortable for others. It certainly did at Whole Foods. There were a lot of times it really, I think, challenged the ego of many. That was really uncomfortable, to be around continuously. Yet it's important, right? We find ourselves in different bodies and different scenarios for this purpose, for the purpose of clearing our judgment, clearing our programming around what we think is normal. This is part of the rise of the divine feminine, right? Like finding myself as a wise soul in a young woman's body in corporate America, and helping many older men with some ego dissolution in that process. That's partially why, this combination happened in this lifetime, I think. There've been a lot of reasons for that. And so, we can just find ourselves comparing and judging and forgetting that we're not our bodies. So this is just that reminder that we're not our bodies. And to remember that there is no comparison, there is no judgment in spirit. We're all right where we need to be. So with that, we'll wrap up for today. You can learn more about some of the fun, supernatural types of experiences that have happened in some of the other videos and on the Star Family Wisdom podcast. That's where I've, gone into a lot of them, especially some of the more paranormal ET related ones, which I find fun. It's part of my passion to help connect the dots between our earthly experience and our history of galactic communication, galactic interaction, and as we transition eras, to help be one of those people who's opening that door, positioning my consciousness in a way where I'm excited about ET contact and all of that stuff. So if you want to dive into that, check out Star Family Wisdom and that podcast where we go deep into that. I just interviewed Paul Wallace recently. He is a former archdeacon of the Anglican Church in Australia, and through years of doing biblical, translations and studying these texts, he started noticing some anomalies, and he started questioning some of the translations of these texts and whether, there were some different stories mixed up in these texts that we just have not fully understood. And so he has dedicated his life to helping to bring forward a new narrative of our human history, and doing that while honoring, the spiritual traditions around the world, while honoring the wisdom and the spiritual energies of the masters who walked before us, knowing that is so important, for our human development to understand our spirituality, but maybe within a bigger context than we've allowed ourselves to experience it. So check that out if that has, rung a bell for you, if that feels interesting. And I'll see you next time in our next episode. I'm excited about some of the topics to come. And again, these are from my personal experience. I'm not trying to be a formal teacher of the lineage. I'm not attempting to steer folks in a way that might be counter to what feels right for them. So if this resonates, awesome. If it doesn't, that's cool too. So I'm just glad you're here and that we can have these conversations together, because I think anytime we're stepping a little outside of our comfort zones, that's where growth occurs, and that's beautiful. So thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.